inspired him to make such a bold move?
I think, and I've never, talking to my older brothers and so forth, I think that he wanted to be a farmer. I mean, he grew up farming, and he had a farm background. I think he wanted to have his own farm and produce his own items on the farm.
Uncle Al also said that he used to say, he didn't want you to have to be dependent on any white man. What you
Right.
needed also.
There was a general feeling when I was growing up as a kid that, farming was a good thing. It was all right, but the bad thing was being a sharecropper. My dad and stepdad, they sort of frowned at getting involved in sharecropping and working on some white man's farm, and being cheated out of most of your income at the end of the year.
So it sounds like there's a difference between sharecropping and farming.
In a sense.
What would that be, please?
Well, in sharecropping, you're working on someone else. You don't actually own the farm, but you're managing pretty much every aspect of it and producing cotton and corn, whatever products, and for a share of those products. And usually you come out with the short end of the stick when you working for some real wealthy person and so forth. He's going to take most of the proceeds and give you minimum yield at the end of the year, and it sort of worked like that. You end up in debt. Actually, there's stories about the sharecroppers being constantly indebted to the owners of the farm, and they would say, "Well, you almost got everything. You almost broke even this time. We'll have to try again next year," and so forth. But that was the thing that my dad and stepdad had after my dad passed. Had a stepdad. They sort of resented. Well, they detested being a sharecropper. They didn't want to do that. Wanted their own land.
And on the flip side, so Mom, your family grew up sharecropping.
Yeah, that is correct. I guess ever since I was like 7, 8 years old, we worked for the man, and we did this until I was like 16, 17 years old. And it was not a good time for me, okay? Because, and like my husband said, you work for the man. At the end of the year, there's nothing that the family gained, okay? And they would come up and say the same thing, like, okay, you almost made it. You almost made it. So my mother told my father, he might screw us this year, but he won't screw us next year. She said, I'm packing my shit. Let's go. And that's what she did.
All of you or just her?
We packed up. My father. He fathered us, okay? My mother was the leader of the family. My father was not a strong man. He didn't want things that my mother want, okay? My mother say, you go work in the city and I'll operate the farm, because she had 14 kids. We can do all these wonderful things, okay? Now, mind you, living on the man's property, it doesn't mean that we was really po, because we had cows and chickens and hogs, and we raised our potatoes and all this good stuff. We raised our potatoes and peas and corn, and my mother processed this stuff for the winter, okay? So we survived that. But, when you get tired of working, 7, 8, 9 hours a day and get nothing in return. So basically it is time to move on and try to do your thing, the best way you can, and be a free person to do it and not owe anybody anything.